Hello and welcome to day 40 of the 1000 Days of No Code Challenge. We have seen how repeating group is a fantastic way of displaying your data from the database onto the front end. In the last session, we covered displaying the list of users onto the front end in admin page. But think about it. What is the point of displaying all the list of things if you don't have filtering? Imagine going to Amazon and you do not have filtering option. Can you scroll through all the list of items available and then find out whatever you need? You would never go to Amazon if that was the case, right? So let's try to understand how does filtering work and how do we apply the filters onto our admin page users table. Let's dive in. So to build filters, let's add a group. And let's call this as filters. Go to layout and get this to next. After users, we will have filters. So what are the filters that we want to add? Let's say we want to add filters where the admins can select who are the users who have registered from a particular date to a particular date. Okay, so we are adding two date time filters. Okay, so I'll select date time picker and add it onto this particular group. Now this is called from date, and similarly we will have to date. Now we will go to group filters and make this as a row. We will add a gap spacing in columns 20, and we would also need this to come on the right side. Let's go to group users and add cap over here as well and 30. Now we have from date, we have to date. Now let's see how to apply these filters in the repeating group. Go to repeating group, you have search for users and add a new constraint. Now we have not explored the constraints, so let me explain this in detail. Okay, so when you add a new constraint, select what is the field that you want to filter here. Okay, in our case, we want created date is greater than or equals to. Now we have to select greater than or equals to here and not equals to, because in Bubble, date is always a date and time combo and not just date. Even if you want the users who have registered on a particular date, you still have to do greater than or equals to, because Bubble gives you date and time. It might give you 12th of December at 12 AM. Okay, so if you use equals to sign, then you are getting the users who registered at exactly that point and nothing else. And that's why we use greater than or equals to, and then we say date from date value. Okay, now we have to do one more step, that is tell rounded down to date. Yeah, let's do it. Now we have to do one more thing, that is search for rounded down to and make this as date. Okay, so this will bring the date and time value from that input field to exactly 12 AM. So you need all the users who have registered on a date that you select from 12 AM on that date. Okay, here we will select less than. I'll tell you why. So we will search for date and time to date value. We will add a day to this plus days 1 and then do rounded down to date. Okay, I'll explain what this does. So let's assume we want to get all the users who have registered from 12th of December to 18th of December. So here what we are doing is rounded down to date, which means it will come to the first second of that particular day, which is 12 AM on 12th of December. Here we want all the users who have registered until 18th of December, but not at 12 AM but 11:59 PM. And that's why we are adding a day to it, which makes it 19th of December, and then we are rounding down to date, which means it is 19th of December at 12 a.m. And because we have used smaller than symbol here, it will give us all the users who have registered until 11:59 p.m. with 59 seconds. And before that, we have just 2 users here. So let me go ahead and add a few records manually. I'm going to new entry. I'm selecting, so date of birth can be anything. So I'm just adding a few records. Because we just have 2 records in the database, I'm going manually and entering them. So go to data, click on new entry and add your details. 12/08/2016, 12:00 a.m. Right? Name can be, email can be rakesh@abcd.com, phone number. Like this, we will create multiple records. Even you can create it if you don't have multiple users. I've added a few records manually, and let's see on the front end. So because most of them were added today, okay, you will get a lot of details if you select the date which has today, otherwise nothing. So let's see how this works. Now you can see if I select today's date and today's date, right, you can see the records which were added today. Okay, but when you refresh, you are not able to see anything. Okay, and that's because if you go to the repeating group, if you go to the search for users, okay, we've added this filters and we have not selected ignore empty constraint. Okay, when we do not check this, if the constraints are empty, then you will not get a response in the repeating group. Okay, so if we check this, what it means is if the constraint that we are using here is empty, okay, in our case we are using 2 date fields. If that is empty, then give us the entire list, and if the constraint has some values, then use those constraints, right? So when we now go to the front end, you can see all the users that have registered on our portal with all the details coming in, and when you select a particular constraint, okay, then you can see the details filtered out. So let me go to November and say 20th to 23rd of November. You can see 1 user who has registered between that, and that was on November 23rd. If I go to 24th, then you can see 2, right? Now, if I go to any date which is prior to any of the registrations that has happened, you can see nothing. Yeah. So if you're not seeing anything, let's show a text which is no records match your constraint, right? So I'm going to add a text here, which is within this group user, and I'm going to make this as no records match your constraints. Okay, and we can change this to header 2, get it to the center, layout, remove fit width to content so it expands and comes to the center. This should not be shown always. So collapse when hidden and this element is visible on page load should be unchecked. You add a condition here and you say when repeating group users list of users count is 0, right? That's when you display this. Okay, let's do one more thing. Let's add a text within here, get it to center, and in appearance, insert dynamic data, search for repeating group, you have users and list of users count. Okay, what this does is it gives you the number of users matching your constraint. Okay, so I'm removing this fit width to content so that it expands and the number comes onto the left side. I'm also going to add users here. Let's see how it looks. So we're going to the front end, refreshing the page, and you can see there are 7 users who have registered, right? Now if I add a constraint which is from 17th of December then you can already see this coming as 5 users. I hope this was helpful. Now next up, we are going to cover pagination. For this, we need a lot of users onto the portal, otherwise pagination does not make sense. So create a lot of dummy users onto your portal manually, or ask your users to come and register on the portal. And that's exactly how you add filters to the repeating group. By adding filters, we are now allowing our admins to be able to filter out exactly the details that they need. Take some time to try this out on your app and see what difference it makes to your app. And in the next video, we will cover a concept called pagination. See you in the next one.